Hello, everyone. The time is 5:05, and I'm calling this meeting to order. If I could get a roll call.
Chrissy? Present. Dana? Present. Dan?
Present.
Eric?
Present.
James?
Present. Okay. Do we have any absences to approve?
Just Andrews.
Okay. Could I get a motion to approve that, please?
I'll move to approve absence of Andrew Fruit.
And I'll second that.
If I could just get a voice vote on that, please. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, none opposed. Luis, would you mind reading the disclaimer, please?
Yep. Chapter 16, Section 22 of the City of Kalamazoo Code of Ordinance states, historical preservation is a public purpose. To serve that purpose, the Historic District Commission is hereby charged with the following responsibilities. A, the Kalamazoo Historic District Commission is empowered to regulate work on the exterior of historic resources and non-historic resources in historic districts in the City of Kalamazoo, and to otherwise have all powers invested in Historic District Commissions pursuant to the Local Historic Districts Act, NCLA 399201, 1970 PA 169, as amended 1992. B, to regulate work on resources which, by city ordinance are historic or non-historic resources located within local historic districts, including but not limited to the moving of any structures into or out of, or the building of any historic structure in a historic district. The following documents are available in the Community Planning and Economic Development Department located at 245 North Rose Street. These documents will help assist property owners in understanding the responsibilities of owning property in a local historic district. Again, NCLA 399201, 1970 PA 169 was amended 1992, which is the Michigan Local Historic Districts Act. The Code of Ordinances of the City of Kalamazoo, Michigan, specifically Chapter 16, Historic Districts. The Secretary of the Interior Standards for Rehabilitation and Guidelines for Rehabilitating Historic Buildings. Standards and Guidelines for Kalamazoo Historic Districts and maps of Kalamazoo Local Historic Districts. These documents and maps are also available on the City of Kalamazoo website at www.kalamazooCity.org/historic preservation.
Thank you, Luis. Do you have any additions to the agenda tonight?
We do not.
Okay. Then, do we have any guests that need to be introduced that aren't on the docket? All right. And any public comment to any agenda items tonight? All right. Then, could I get a motion to adopt the agenda, please?
I'll move to adopt the formal agenda as is. Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then I guess could I get a motion to approve the minutes, please? I'll move to approve the minutes from last month's meeting.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and then that brings us to the application reviews. First one being 530 West South Street.
How you doing? Francois had me come up here tonight. He had another meeting he couldn't get out of. I'm the one helping with the project anyway, so he sent me up here.
Okay. Do you want to just talk about it a little bit?
So we got a stop work order. We were putting some cement, just a little casing around it. We had two guests run into the pillars that hold the overhang on the back porch up, and they almost knocked it out of place. So we just encased 3 feet of it in concrete on the bottom to hold it in place in case that happens again. Somebody called on it, and our original plans right here, not going to be hardly maybe an inch to maybe an inch and a half bigger than the original. Like from a distance, you wouldn't even be able to tell the difference. But we didn't get a chance to get that far, so that's why we're here tonight.
Okay. All right, so basically, we're just looking for permission to build out around an existing pylon, is that correct, Luis?
Yeah, and so there's three parts of this one too. So Francois also brought the barrier-free ramp forward as well that you're proposing to put onto the side, and then the sign as well. The sign pretty much explains itself, but the ramp to go up to the side porch, can you scroll up one more, Casey? That's a drawing of the ramp just on the side door, so.
Yeah, I'm not helping with that one as much as I believe it's his brother.
Okay.
But yeah, he wanted to get that installed because right now we don't have any type of handicap access.
Okay.
And the only thing we would really have to do for the building itself is cut 36 inches out of the railing just for the entrance and a small ramp into the back door. There's about an 8-inch lip right there. That wouldn't even be permanent. That, wouldn't be permanently affixed to it, so.
Okay. And then there's also the sign. So I think what we can do, since these are, the sign, like I said, speaks for itself. We have a picture of it here, but since we kind of have three distinct things, I think we can just go through them and talk about them in order to answer your question, Dan, about the first one. So, Casey, I don't know if you can scroll down to some of the pictures that show. I'm sorry we're getting some feedback here too, folks, but this one is fine to go back. So, yep. What we're seeing here is what you were just talking about. The bottom of these, and I believe they're 8x8, 12-foot 8x8s. The bottom of them is encased with 3 feet. It goes 3 feet high of concrete. That concrete is roughly 16.5 inches in diameter, and the rest of them are obviously, according to the drawings that Francois submitted, and the rest of the pillars there, as we'll be calling them, are 8x8s, like I said, so about 7.5 inches wide. Like you asked, Dan, will they be rewrapping? That's what was proposed. Yes, rewrapping with the decorative trim. Casey, if you could scroll down one to show what the non-touched one looks like. So this is one that does not have the concrete on it.
I was actually going to copy that exact design.
Yep.
Just a little bit wider on the bottom.
Okay.
And-
Copy the one pictured, or
The one
is it
right
going to
here.
be cylindrical when you're done?
No, it'll still, we're going to put a square casing around it. So it'll look basically like the one you're looking at right here, just slightly wider at the bottom. The ones that were on that side anyway, those were larger than these ones in the first place. But when they hit, you can't see it in this picture, but when they hit the one towards the front, it was only hanging on by like 4 inches. So that was our concern, that somebody could get hurt, if it came down and there was a car under there or a guest or something of that nature. So that's why we had put that concrete there so that they couldn't knock it down on that. And it, not once, but twice, it got hit.
Final dimension is going to be about an inch bigger, you said?
Yeah.
Can you say a little bit about an inch?
Yeah, roughly about an inch bigger.
Not an inch on all sides, just an inch.
Yeah, an inch on all sides. Should be on the drawing. He told me it was. It's just, actually the wood that we have is just under an inch. So, yeah, roughly
So
just under an inch on all
your
4 sides.
Your final dimension will actually vary about 4 inches bigger than the other pillars.
Yeah, on each side. So, like if you were looking at it from the front, you would actually only see roughly just over 1.5 inches total from one side of it.
Compared to the other ones.
Yeah, but those original ones were already wider than the picture that you showed a minute ago. The original ones were already wider on that side. They had a bigger base. If you pay attention to the concrete bases that are on the ground, you can see the old marks on there. That right there. If you pay attention, you can see right there the old marks. That's why we put it inside of those original marks, but we just have to go a little bit wider because of the wood.
So if two cars hit it when it was narrower, and now you're going to make it wider, isn't that going to increase the chance that it's going to be hit?
No. So the driveway, if you pay attention to the picture right here, is inside this curve. So it's actually behind the curve. When they were backing out, they went in an angle, and they caught the back side of it, because when you go down, it starts to curve, and they didn't turn sharp enough on that curve, and yeah.
I had a question about the when you put the wood trim all back around it, and I understand it'll be new, it sounds like,
Yeah.
are you literally going to match just an inch bigger the exact ornamentation as it is?
Yep.
I'm only asking because I saw in his sketch with the dimensions, it looked like it was coming down and then the cylinder out, and I just want to be very clear, there's no room for artistic interpretation here.
Nobody can draw.
If we approve like a replacement of this wood, we want it exactly like that.
We already have the router there.
Okay.
Yeah, just nobody can draw, so.
That's totally fine. I just want to make sure I'm understanding your intention.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm hearing a little bit of feedback as too, so if you're not speaking, will you just have your microphone muted? Thank you. Sorry, I'm not sure where it's coming from.
All right, so it looks like we're breaking this up into a couple chunks. Does anyone have any more questions on this specific part of it? Comments?
And you're wondering about, so this picture right here actually shows where the handicap ramp will be going. This back part towards the window, the railing,
Yeah.
that's where we're gonna cut the 36 inches out. The
Okay.
ramp is gonna run right along that back wall there.
Well, so like first we'll have a roll call vote and approve the first part. And so we'll, if anyone wants to make a motion on that.
I would move to approve the column replacement as presented in accordance with number 1 standard, assuming that it's going to match identically to the others other than it's slightly larger.
I'll second the motion. Could we have a roll call vote, please, Stacy?
Chrissy? Yes. Dana?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
James?
Yes. All right, so that was approved. Let's move on to the ramp portion. Does anyone have any questions about the ramp or comments?
What material is the ramp going to be made of?
Composite decking.
I'm slightly concerned about removing 36 inches of the original railing. So you're saying it's basically going to go up along that wall there?
Yep.
And then, can you verify, is that railing original to the house? Does it look like it is, or?
I can't verify necessarily the age of the railing, but from the research that I've done, this house has been not very altered since its construction. In my report, I said that if it was possible just to remove that length of railing so it could be saved and put in something else in its place, so if someone ever wanted to replace the railing, that to me would be more appropriate than cutting it, because I haven't gotten up and looked at that or touched it with my hands, but it looks like a pretty intricate railing. I don't know how many pieces of wood that is, but I don't know how easy it would be to re-mill everything and get it put back together.
So we have thought about that as well. Second is, I don't think that's the original railing. We have older pictures of the house, and that is not there. It's a metal railing that's up there. And I actually Googled image search that railing one day, and you can still buy those spindles. But we thought they are still quite old.
Yep.
But we were thinking about that, just removing that section as a whole, and then just putting up something, temporary. That way, if they ever want to put this back, it can be reinstalled.
Yeah, it was just a suggestion as I was going through it, because, it looks like that's 4 foot wide, so if you're going to cut out 3 feet on any, not leave any width, you're not going to be retaining a lot of it anyways.
Yeah.
So just a thought that I had when I was looking at it.
I have to say that sounds way better to me. Like I was looking at that railing and I was kind of coming to the same conclusion. And then do you have like a spot in the house you could stash it, like in the basement or under the porch or
Yeah,
something?
we got plenty of room for that.
Okay.
This ramp, when you say barrier-free, I assume it still has to have a railing on it. Is that the barrier-free that you're talking about?
The ramp is, it's gonna have a railing on.
So if
both
you
sides.
match this railing, use that piece of railing that you're talking about taking off and use that as a portion of your railing coming up the ramp and match it. I have a little concern about your composite might be a slippery. I don't know, you're going to have cleats on this ramp or some sort of sticky something to give traction on.
Have you ever been to Henderson Castle?
I have, but it's been quite a few years.
So the same stuff that we used up there, there's a grip tape that we put on that's made for that specific thing, and it lasts well over a year before it has to be replaced, but we replace it every year anyway, just to make sure that, it doesn't tear apart or whatever, but that was the same thing that we were going to do again. It's basically, it's like sandpaper, is basically what it is. And, it's not a bad idea to copy that railing on the way down. I wouldn't.
Yeah, I would object to something different than what you have there. I think it's not gonna look right. If you've got one type of hand railing on your landing and you have a totally different kind of hand railing going up the ramp, it's not gonna look authentic, so to speak. Or as you mentioned, the original was cast iron.
Like, make sure that we stay within the realm of things that we can be considering as we look at this application. We shouldn't be considered with the slipperiness of the material, rather the compatibility of the new ramp as we're looking at it, and if there's something that you think would be incompatible about the addition of the new ramp, I would speak to that. But I would also say that when we're looking at standard number 9, new construction or additions or alterations should be differentiated from the new. So just another consideration as well.
I did have one more question about the ramp. Were you approved by the city for this design?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I myself tried to do handicap ramps or have done them, and so specific on the rise over run. I was just making sure that you had enough.
Yeah, they're very specific on it, and it actually changed too. So we had to redesign it twice because I didn't know it had changed, but the incline is different now than it used to be.
Any other comments from anyone?
So Luis, what I hear you saying is the ramp is a separate entity from the landing, although it's connected, that should be viewed as a separate item? Because to me, it seems like it's all part of the same. If you're going to do a change to the railing, it should all match as far as the look and feel of the property.
Yeah, so, and I just want to make sure that we are speaking in terms that we're sure that, align with the Secretary of the Interior standards and the local historic district standards and guidelines. If you look at standard number 3, you don't want to create a false sense of history by adding conjectural features. This is not necessarily conjectural because it's not like we're not putting on a Greek frieze onto the building, right? And that would be an interesting distinction. Standard number 9 says, however, that new construction should be differentiated from the old so as to not confuse. The way I interpret that is you don't want to put something on and have future generations coming to the property and looking and saying, that's crazy that when they built this house in the late 1880s, they were so mindful as to put on a barrier-free ramp onto the rear of the property. Then as we look at number 10, that says that things that are put onto a property should be able to be removed without impairing the property. And that's why I spoke to, in my report, the fact that the removal of the railing there, that allows for its replacement in the future if the ramp were to be removed. I hope that answered your question.
And the railing is designed where it can be taken back off. So when it connects to the porch, there's just brackets that will attach to it so it can't shift, but it won't be permanent to where it cannot be removed.
I was just going to make a motion. Okay. I'll move to approve a certificate of appropriateness for the work on the ramp as described, as it complies with the Secretary of Interior standards.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Could I get a roll call vote, please?
Christie? Yes. Dana?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Great, so that passed. Now we're moving on to the question on the sign. If you want to show the photo, yeah. Does anyone have any questions regarding that?
This sign just got put up and now you're asking for approval? Or the sign has been there and it's getting a change?
There was another sign there at some point. I didn't even have to drill holes for it. The holes were already existing, so when he had the sign made, we just used the existing holes that were there. So we're not sure what was there before we put that there, but something was there, because all 4 holes were already drilled and sleeved.
Yeah, I would say next time I'd encourage you to come to the board first before you do the work, but I don't have a problem with what I see.
I agree. Probably should have said something first.
Say, before we move forward, this does not necessarily apply to us, but just something to keep in mind. Zoning regulations say that the sign cannot be that close to the setback of the property as it stands, so if a variance is not issued for this sign, then there might have to be some changing of it in the future. That doesn't in any capacity impact what decision will be made here today. Just want to make people, if it comes back again or if something like that happens, I just want you guys to understand why, and we can speak to it again at a later date. But zoning does not necessarily, or it does not have a bearing on historic decisions.
So in other words, if we were to approve it, it would be approved contingent upon getting a variance?
Should look at them as separate things. Ours would still be approved. I would do my sign off in the system, but the sign, for it to be fully and completely permitted, would also need the zoning sign off. I'm sure that, or I know that Francois is speaking with the zoning administrator within the city.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the installation of the sign. The proposed sign does not appear to destroy any historic materials that characterize the property. As the brick wall it is mounted on is, that's not original to the property and already had a sign on it in the exact same spot. Additionally, the sign will be differentiated from the historic property through the use of some new materials, but it appears to be compatible with the massing size and scale since it is 2 square feet, it looks like.
Second the motion?
Thank you for that. Could I get a roll call vote for that, please?
Christie? Yes. Dana?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Thanks so much.
So everything passed. I'll be in touch with Francois, and I'm sure he'll pass the information along to you as well.
Yeah.
I'll send out some emails later this week, and then I'll send out a physical copy, hopefully by the end of the week as well. So,
Okay.
awesome. Thank you so
All
much
right.
for coming in.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
All right, we're moving on to 229 East Michigan, if you're here.
Okay, so the board knows, you can see that there are 2 separate cases for the same property. There were different applicants for the same property. So, yeah, you're fine to come up, sorry. I'm sure that they'll kind of just say one after the other. Just so you guys know, we are looking at the same property, so don't get kind of spooked out or anything if you notice, like, oh, what's going on with the next one. Great.
My name is Carrie Darling Main on behalf of Signer Incorporated, representing COSTAR and then Traffic Copper to install an internally illuminated projecting sign at the site property.
Okay. I'm going to start off saying I'm excited to see Traffic Copper move downtown. That's pretty cool. I like seeing more businesses open down there. Does anyone have any comments or questions about the sign for them? I guess I'll start. Before it got to us, the city approved the overhang and all that?
Yep,
Yep.
so it's still in the permitting stage, they've been submitted, obviously we need your approval prior to moving forward.
Okay.
And then, of course, the right-of-way permit.
Great, yeah, yeah. I was going to ask if you wanted to make a motion.
I'll make a motion. I propose that we approve a certificate of appropriateness be prepared to approve the proposed sign as it will not conceal or disfigure that any architectural feature of the building. It appears that the size and style is compatible with the building.
I'll second the motion.
Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Christie?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
So that one passed. I'll be in touch with you tomorrow, just to send you an email. I'll send over the certificate of appropriateness for it sometime this week, and I'll get the approvals entered as well. So, thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, well, and then, we have to do the second part of that?
Yep, separate applicant. but they'll
Oh,
be right
separate
back.
applicant.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, same, okay, that's what you were explaining,
Yep.
sorry about
No,
that.
not a problem.
Hey, guys.
Hi, so I'm Rachel Kuzinski with Traystar, building owner, and then I brought JLW's inspection to Joey just in case you have some questions I can answer. So what we're asking for is two things. One is to install an ADA push button on the outside of the building in order to avoid replacing the front doors of that space and to keep them to code. We need both doors open at the time so it's wide enough. That's our solution to that, so we can keep the doors. And then the second thing on the side of the building, is the left side, there's a window. You want to replace a piece of that window and put in a service window, like a walk-up window for a patio.
Just to clarify, the second thing you said would be in what's, I guess I'm looking at Google here, it says Market Plaza, is that right? Is that what it
The
said?
plaza on the, yeah, that's on the west side of the building.
Yeah. Okay.
The current window is an aluminum construction or is a wood construction?
Wood.
And so what you'll be putting in will be like a commercial aluminum.
Yeah.
Yep, we'll be just taking out a pane of glass and replacing the pane of glass.
Will it have a similar reveal on the frame of the window in terms of its thickness? When the window goes in,
I don't think so.
no, it's completely different.
Yeah. And the bottom will be paneled, because the glass is pretty big. The walk-up window will be, yeah, a portion of it, and then there'll be a panel on the bottom.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about the thickness of it. There's going to be a frame that glass sets in, right?
Right.
We aren't
That will
changing
match.
the frame at all. So we're working with Reliable on it. I don't know the specifics of it, but I know that we're not changing the frame of the window at all.
Right.
Got
So
it, got
I
it.
assume that
Okay,
they
I
are.
was
Yeah.
assuming you were like out
No.
with the whole thing.
The actual pane of glass is just coming.
Got it. Okay, just the glass so that you can have this.
Right, so they're gonna put panels on the side to make it fit in the middle of where the opening would be.
So this is a very large window on the bottom. I also want us all to be aware that we're looking at 229, and then as we go next, I don't know the address that Mario is in now. So between those two buildings, there used to be another building. That other building existed probably into the 70s or 80s before it was taken out. So all of the windows that are on the west face of 229 are certainly not original because it would have shared a wall with the other building. Just so you all know that. The window that's in question right now that you guys were bringing up, probably like 7 foot tall and like 4 foot wide or something, so it's a very large window. And that pane of glass will be removed, and we're talking about a service window, or I don't mean this in a bad way, but like a drive-through window that slides so services can be provided to folks outside. And it certainly won't be as large as the 7 foot one. So metal panels will be put onto the bottom, and then you guys are kind of building it out so just that that service window can be installed correct. So just want to make sure that we're all on the same page with that.
Does anyone want to make a motion?
I do want to make a comment. I like your solution for the doors. I think that I appreciate the fact that it's less intrusive and maintains more of the architectural integrity of the building than having a push button. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm ready to make a motion, but Luis, do we need to have two motions, or can we do it all in one? If
If you want to do it all on one, you can.
Commissioners, good with one motion? Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the application as proposed, as it complies with the Secretary of Interior Standards 1, 9, and 10.
I will second.
Casey, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Christie?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes. Both of the things passed. You can expect a couple of emails from me. I'll reach out to Carrie and I'll reach out to you for the sign and this work as well. Like I said, by the end of the week, and I don't know when the mail will get to you, I also just want to say that, I also think that was a creative solution to put the buttons up. Looking at pictures of this building from 1893, so 2 years after the construction of the building, it's remained largely unchanged. The front door orientation is almost exactly the same, so it's a very well-preserved building in downtown that I know back in the day might have seen some rough times, but it's made it through, so, yeah, thank you.
Yep, thank you. All right, now we're doing 409 West Dutton.
Yep, and this one is going to be a call-in. All right, and get everything set up, and then we'll get rolling on it.
Thanks.
Hello, someone on the line. Looks like. Hello, can you hear us, Jared? Can you hear us, Jared?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Sorry about the technical difficulties there. Do you just want to say
No problem.
say your name in relation to the project, and then kind of give us a brief overview on what you're doing, and we can get started.
Sure thing. Yeah. Hey, everybody. My name is Jared Falconer, and I am the majority owner of the building at 409 West Dutton Street. I've owned it for about 6 years now. And the reason I've come to you guys today is I have a busted-in basement door at the front of the building. It was previously a wooden door, but I've had some real issues with vandals on Dutton, and this door goes into the basement, and there's a laundry down there. And on maybe 3 separate occasions now, I've had vandals actually break this wooden door down. I keep replacing it, and I've kind of got to the point where I need something more reinforced there, and I'd like to put a steel door down there. It will have the same look and feel as the original wooden door. It's been obliterated, but I think there's some photos there that you can look at. The photos you're seeing are actually a white door that I just get from the hardware store, but that would be painted black to look like the other black doors at the front of the building, so it will look and feel the same as everything else, but it'll be steel, and hopefully I won't have the same problems I've had with vandalism. So that was the first thing I wanted to bring up, and I don't know if now's the time to bring up the second thing I wanted to talk about, which was the structure at the back.
Yep, you can feel free to just walk us through all the work right now.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so at the rear of the building, there's an old, I don't know, almost a storage space for the two-bed units that are on the first level. The city has told me that it's not structurally safe and doesn't have any it can't be used, so they've asked me to demo it or, replace it with something better. And so my hope, and what I'm hoping to get permission from you guys, is to actually remove it completely and replace it with a nice deck, a space that, people would want to spend time on, enjoy, have barbecues, in the chair, and make it a space that will actually be useful to the building and offered to the building for a long time. It can't actually be seen from the front of the building, and it'd be something that you could only have access from the rear. But that was my request.
Awesome, thanks so much. I'll turn it off to the commission.
I have a question regarding the porch on the rear. A few questions, actually. So, are you hoping to do a flat brick patio area or a raised deck that is attached to the building? Because your application seems to mention both.
Oh, right. So my goal is to put a raised wooden deck there. That was the desire. I think when I originally wrote it, I was thinking brick pavers, and then there was a change of plans. I'm sorry. I should have updated that.
And then my other question on the rear, what do the existing rear doors look like? Surely there must be a door that leads into those units, so I'm wondering what the material and look of those doors is, because I think that's something we want to consider. I know it's not noted in the application, but I want to be clear that you can't just replace a door. So can you speak at all to what those look like?
Yeah, I think, oh my gosh, I'm trying to think what they look like. I think they're similar to the doors at the front of the building. And those are metal doors, not the basement one. I honestly don't know what the material is. I haven't really thought about that part of it.
So at this point, you are asking for permission to demo, to remove that existing porch.
Yes.
And then at some later time, you'll come back with a proposal for a structure of some sort?
Yeah, so what I was hoping was that we could approve a deck to go back there per the very rough drawing that I did. It would be a wooden deck that the residents of the home would get to enjoy.
Okay, I'll just speak for myself. I'm having a hard time visualizing from your drawing what that deck would look like. It's just...
Right, so it would be reasonably big. It would have like a railing around it, so you can't just kind of, fall off the side of it. It would have stairs. You'd walk out the back doors and you'd be basically right on the deck. And then the access, there is also a basement unit that's accessible from the rear of the building. There would be some steps that would go kind of from the ground up to the deck to that basement. You could also use it. That is my plan.
So I feel on the deck part, that might be a different approval because it's not quite as clear as the idea of just removing it. I was going to ask on that structure, do you have any idea if that structure was original to the house, Lee? Or it looked like maybe it was a porch that got turned into a screened-in porch turned into a room?
Again, it would be difficult to determine sometimes, and I think we're truly trying to ask ourselves, does this give character to the structure? When you look at Sanborn maps from 1909, I believe, and the building is a little bit older than that, there is something that's at the back, but I also think we need to be very careful when we're looking at footprints, because we don't know what that something was I do think that the structure is old, but again, originality is hard to determine. The other thing that I will say, I don't know this is 100% certainty, but there's some kind of void, I believe, under the existing deck. I'm pretty sure that was built on top of the cistern. So that has something to do with, I think, the condition of it as well, the sinking and falling apart. Rob removed the top of the cistern, fell out at some point, and now it's just turned into a big pit under there as well. So that certainly contributes to the deterioration of the rear structures. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I mean, sitting here, I'm not as, concerned with that structure. It definitely looks like, if I had to guess, it looks like it was added on, like the pillars of the feet don't look like, the rest of it anyway. So I'm not super concerned about removing it. I'm slightly more concerned about what's going to go back in there. I guess that's my only comment on it. I wish I had just a clearer view of what was planned there.
I would kind of echo what Dan said. I'm not as attached to the structure itself. I would like to see a little more detailed plans on deck. The other concern I do have is if you have two, or you mentioned the basement door as well, which has 3 doors on the back, am I correct there? Then you have no protection for those doors too. Once you take this roof line off, there's going to be nothing to, you're going to have the same issues with your rot and your damage to your doors. That's, I suppose, becomes the owner's problem, not an owner of historic authenticity.
I agree that I would still like to see a more developed plan for what the new structure would be, and would like to know what the existing doors look like on the rear of the building. But agreed, this current structure is not adding any value in its current state.
I fully agree with that as well, and I think the reason I would want to see what's behind what elements are kind of hidden by the porch as is what you mentioned, Eric, about protecting any potential historic items that then will be revealed by removing the porch.
So it sounds like perhaps a motion to approve the demolition of the structure, period. And no ruling on the addition of the porch, additional?
I was going to suggest 2 motions, maybe do one for the laundry room door on the front, and maybe one for the demolition of the rear porch, and then after what you just said about any new structure plans need to come back with another application perhaps.
And I'm looking at you.
Yeah, so I would probably say that you can just combine 2 things. Combine the front door, and the demolition of the structure. It sounds like you guys are leaning towards a postponement.
Postponement.
I would make that abundantly clear.
Could I ask one more question? If this is on the front doors, so the basement door getting swapped out to a steel door, did you change out the front doors yourself as well?
No.
No. So,
I'm sorry, I live in the neighborhood, and I know that these doors were changed in the last 2 or 3 years. Those are not the original doors, those are steel doors on the front now.
okay. I pulled up the street view, and I was trying to figure out if they were just painted or if they were... Okay.
They were changed, and it did not come to the commission.
Well, I have no memory of changing them.
Okay, so where does that leave us? Two motions, or are we keeping it combined?
Up to you all, whatever.
Yeah.
Your prerogative to make the motion.
I think combining the front door and the demolition is perfectly fine.
Okay.
I think that the deck itself needs a little more postponement or revisiting.
So I'll make a motion to postpone the construction of a new deck until the next meeting on March 19th and direct the applicant to provide better sketching of what the deck would entail, including any specific materials and dimensions. Anything else that we want to?
Could we also add learn the state of the current doors?
And information about the existing materials that will be exposed by demolition.
I'll second that motion.
Yes, I would also say to you guys that you need to be really careful because whatever is on the inside right now is on the inside. And it frankly is not our purview to consider what is on the inside of the building when it's enclosed. When they become revealed, they become the reveal of the commission. But as of right now, the doors are not underneath the purview of the commission at their interior.
I am slightly concerned, though, since it looks like the front doors were already changed without review, that a decision will be made that's not brought to the commission to change out the rear doors, to real doors without, confirmation. That's my concern. I see your point that they are internal until we take that off. But
just want to reiterate that internal things are not the purview.
Correct. Okay. All right, so we got the motions. Could I get a roll call vote, please?
Christie?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Okay, good. So the addition of the porch that you want to build has been postponed. That means you can come back next month with more detailed drawings. It sounds like the commission will probably make another motion for the rest of the work, but I just wanted to make that clear, and we can talk about tomorrow if you'd like as well.
Okay.
And I'll hand it back off.
Thank you.
I'll hand it back off to the commission.
Thank you. All right, moving on to 260. I'm so sorry.
I'll make a motion to approve the applicant's replacement of the basement door with a steel door, the door on the front, and also to approve the demolition of the existing rear porch.
I second.
Okay, could I get a roll call vote for that, please?
Christie?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Could we,
So
I'm sorry, one last comment. On your next application, Mr. Falconer, please note the correct neighborhood. You're in the Vine neighborhood here. Thank you.
Jared, so I'll be in touch with you tomorrow. So the demo passed and the replacement of the front door passed. The commission is just requesting more information through a postponement of the construction of the rear deck. So we can talk again tomorrow. You can expect an email from me this week, and you can expect physical copies of the paperwork whenever the United States Postal Service gets them to you. So.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, trying too quickly there, but moving on to 266 East Michigan.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Matt O'Connor, East Michigan, and I believe some of you are familiar with this. We brought this a few years ago. So it's the Coney Island building downtown, and so today, I really appreciate Lisa's help for last month on the application. So today our request is the replacement of the windows and new construction of an elevator shaft in Dave's Alley. The thing that has changed since our first request a few years ago is we met with Mr. Brooks at the fire department, and he requested that the new elevator shaft and stair tower in the alley go all the way to the roof, so we've extended that. When you're looking at the front of the building, the roof pitch is actually, there's probably a good side picture in the drawing, but you won't be able to see it. Even though it goes to the roof, you won't be able to see it from the road. And then we'll be replacing all of the windows as well. So. I'm happy to answer any questions and appreciate you taking the time to meet with me.
Yeah, thanks. Does anyone have any questions to start? Comments?
You have a comparison of what's existing and what you're going to put in as far as a picture of that?
I mean, it'll be a new, I guess if you go up one, since you had the elevation there.
I'm more talking the windows, not the elevator, just
windows. I mean, they'll match the existing openings, and they'll just be new windows, whether they're aluminum or Luis and I talked about the Anderson 400s. We're working through exactly what they'll be, but they will look authentic to the time period.
The arch facade there, that's brickwork detail, or that's part of the existing window?
At the top?
Yeah.
I mean, that's masonry.
So that will still be there no matter what kind of window you put in?
That is the finished elevation. Okay. Yep, and we're maintaining that facade. Bill Adams did a really nice job redoing that facade, so we did talk to, if you could zoom in on that top.
Zooming becomes a little bit of a hassle with us, but sorry.
No, that's right. And so, well, so oh, there's one.
Yes, that's fine. We're trying to get this in. Sorry, we're having technical difficulties. We've never done this before. I just want to be clear with everyone, so when we're talking about like the FCC sign and stuff, generally unless it's something that's very crazy, it's not really something that I look at because it's so utilitarian. The sign can be moved into places and mounted in places that will be historically appropriate, and it's a safety thing. There's no getting around an FCC sign. I would be appalled if we didn't have one put up. So.
No, we want to have one there.
Yeah, exactly.
I just more was like trying to keep you guys in the loop.
No,
all
exactly.
the talk with that.
And I'm just letting them know that we won't really rule on it, and I appreciate you bringing it up, but I just don't want them to get confused, but I do appreciate it.
Okay, yeah, sorry, maybe I'm getting too...
No, not at all.
If you look at the other drawing, to the right side of that one, that'll show you the height of the new elevator shaft in the alley. And again, that's a safety. If you just zoom out a little bit on that one.
It's thinking. So those are elevations of the top of the building, correct? Once we get
Yeah, and that's like staring, this one on the right.
I have a question about the windows. You're replacing all the windows? The request is to replace all the windows? And why is that? Why do you want to replace all the windows?
It's just not feasible to not replace them. I mean, we're proposing 13 apartments, 13 newly constructed apartments on floors 2 to 4, and they're just not. If you've been through it, I mean, that building's been vacant since the 70s, I believe. They're in disrepair. They're not salvageable.
Okay, so they're deteriorating.
Oh, yeah, and we're putting a whole new roof on. I mean, there's pigeons living in it. I'm happy to show you guys, walk through it anyway, through it. I mean, it's kind of cool, like, to see what it'll eventually be, hopefully, but it's rough right now, very rough.
Okay, I'm asking you because the windows are generally a historic feature of a building. So as a Historic District Commission, we tend not to approve removal of windows unless they are so deteriorated that they can't be repaired.
Yeah, and I will note, I mean, Louise and I talked about this, I mean, you guys did approve the window replacement, back in 2021 or 2020, and I believe that was because we walked a few of the commission members through the building, and it was pretty obvious at that point.
Okay, it just did not come through in your application here.
I think that there is some confusion as to what happened in 2021. When I reviewed the minutes and looked at them, the drawings certainly included the replacement of the windows, and I certainly was not here in 2021. So I used the minutes as the official record. The motion made did not include the replacement of the windows. What did get approved was in the rear. All of the work that was done on the rear came back to the commission twice, and there was efforts made to align that more closely, and it was aligned much more closely with what the historic structure looks like. Today, I want to be certain that we're all on the same page, right, when we're looking to make motions and things, and I want to speak to one more thing. It's included in the packet, and it's written out that what's above the arched windows right now is glass block. So that's noted on the drawings, and I know that drawings are not what everyone looks at all the time, so, we're more than happy to answer questions, I'm sure. But on the third story there, those are, or fourth story, rather, wish I could count better, those are glass block. When we're looking at the elevator tower, frankly, the tower without the addition has already been approved, so we're not going to be reviewing that, in my opinion. We'll be reviewing the addition of the taller part of the tower. Background, I'm not sure that it's pertinent, but that is being added because there needs to be access to the mechanical equipment that's on top of the building. I don't find it to be out of character to have an elevator tower that is a little bit taller than a building. And I think what Matt was referring to is that sight line on this building from where you would be standing on Michigan at any point in time, you would not be able to see the extension of the tower above the building. And sorry, I just wanted to clarify.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you.
I had a question about the windows. It sounds like from that application, the ones you prefer are vinyl wrapped wood. And I was wondering if there was any possibility of replacing the deteriorated wood windows that exist now with newer wood windows. Is that possible?
I mean, that would be a question for my contractor. I mean, I know that we've got a window contractor in place. I'm happy to share the specifications. But yeah, I mean, we've always kind of wanted to keep the look of it, and whether that's a vinyl or a wooden window, I'm happy to follow up with that specific data. But I mean, the whole reason I bought this thing is because it's the care. I want to keep as much of that character as possible. So I'm not just going to put cookie cutter windows in there.
Well, and I appreciated that in the drawings in the application, it's double hung windows like the ones that are currently there. Speaking for myself, and I assume for some other commissioners, but I think we typically prefer wood whenever possible when we're replacing some historic.
So would you be keeping the glass block that's on the fourth story, above the fourth story windows? Is that going to be there?
Yeah. There's going to need to be some repair to it, but keeping that feature, that element, is important to. I mean, again, that's the finished architectural elevation, so it's going to look like. I mean, can I say that every single glass block's going to stay at? No, I mean, there's going to be some repair just because of the emptiness of that building for so long. So.
I'm perfectly happy with the elevator. I just have reservations about the material of the windows.
I would echo that sentiment as well.
Well, let's make a motion with respect to the elevator first. I move that we approve, actually, as we said, the new portion of the elevator shaft, the extension of our previously approved elevator, of the previously approved plans for the elevator. But now we're addressing, and I'm moving to approve the additional height of the previously approved elevator plans.
Seconded.
Could I get a roll call vote, please?
Christie?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes. So that has passed. Does anyone want to make a motion on the window replacement? Or further comment?
I mean, if possible, I would prefer that you consult with your window contractor to see about the possibility of using wood instead of the vinyl wrap, because that's what I would prefer to see. It would be closer to the historic, it would be closer in line with the historic nature of the building. And I think it would better align with our standards that we're held to.
So, because it's brought before us, if you want to withdraw that and talk to your contractor and bring it back at the next meeting, that would be an option. Otherwise, we have to have a motion on it, don't we?
We could maybe approve the replacement windows and then have an administrative approval if would that come into play at all?
Three options for motions are approval, denial, or postponement. Approval meaning that it's approved, and I tried to stay away from conditionality on those because frankly it just takes some of the decision out of your hands, which is what I want it to be when I bring it to you. Denial means just that, and postponement is what's used when more information is sought.
Yeah, I just kind of feel like you could do a fiberglass or something that gives it a lot more of the vinyl. I'm just...
And again, I mean, I know I'm not a window expert, so I may be using the wrong vocabulary. I know that we're trying to finish the building permit because we want to get started in the month of March on the demolition, and we've got 6 to 8 weeks, and this is part of that. So, I mean, I understand, Louise, the condition part, but I'm just wondering it's your motion, so I'm just wondering if we can have a motion with some follow-up data, just so I can keep proceeding with my demo and building permit, because, you know, I've been working on this for 4 years. It's again, I'm not trying to tell you guys how to do your job. I'm just saying I want to keep moving so we can bring these apartments to light, and if we got to kind of work together on the specifics of the window, you know, everybody's on the same page with its item number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, model number, what, you know what I mean? I just want to keep progressing, because so that's all I would ask is that.
So let me ask you a question. If we were to approve the removal of the windows, the condition that you come back in March, proposal for what you're going to replace them with.
I'm happy.
Would that hold you up?
I guess that would be a question for the building department. I mean, the problem is, what I've learned is the site plan, so we had to go back through and get site plan approval because we went from 11 units to 13 units, and COVID happened and all that stuff. So we went from 11 units to 13 units. We're very close to getting the site plan reapproved, subject to historic, and we can't, and they won't bifurcate demo permit and building permit, and I've got 8 weeks of demo because I got lead and asbestos and all sorts of stuff in there, and so I can't, and I'm trying to deliver apartments about a year from now, and so I can't, it's one of these where we're going to turn around and it's going to be July, and I think we're generally on the same page right now, subject to me following up with you guys, that I would plead to you that you can help me keep moving this along, and I totally respect that you don't like conditional release, but if we can get conditions that'll help me get to a demo permit, I get it. I'm taking the windows out. I know I need to put new ones in. Maybe there's just some further discussion on what it is. I hear the comments on material selection. Again, I'm not a window guy. I probably should have brought my contractor here, but I'm just trying to bring these apartments to light. I've got a retailer that wants to go into the Uzo space. They can't go in there until I do the demo, so they're just stuck right now, which makes me stuck, and so I'm paying taxes on this thing, so I'm trying to get it.
So, correct me if I'm wrong then, you don't have like a specific order number window, it's this window yet? Is that still to be decided? So you could go and choose a wood window? Is that the idea, or you already
I mean, they budgeted, whether it's a fiberglass or a vinyl. My guess is it may or may not be wood. I mean, but I can get more clarity on that. I mean, really, I would have brought that if I knew. I mean, I thought today was just more just saying, like, I thought this was more related to elevator power, and frankly, and I apologize, I thought we were already approved on the windows 2 years ago or 3 years ago, so I'm getting a little caught off guard here. No. But it is, and that's not your fault, Luis. You weren't even here at that point. So.
Well, let me just interject real quick, too. So I can certainly dig back in again. And, the drawings had the windows, but it just was not a part of the motion. And I'm just kind of a stickler for that kind of stuff, that it wasn't...
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
The windows were on the drawings that you submitted in 2021, but it was not a part of the motion for the approval that the commission made. Okay. They only moved for the tower. I'm certainly happy to dig back through the minutes again and look at it for you, and that's the one thing that I'll say. The second part is, I understand that you want to get moving on the demo, right? So you have a building permit right now that you submitted that has all these things included on it. If the discussion of window replacement was removed from that building permit at this point, then I could sign off on the demo permit as it stood, because the commission has just approved the building permit they've just approved the tower build, and we don't get to do anything on the inside of the building. Sure. So barring the windows, there would be no more historic review for demos besides the windows. So I just want to make that clear to you as well.
Well, but is that, I mean, so I'm just confused because Emily says I can't, like, we never just issue a demo permit. We only issue all of it at once, and I can't get it until, I mean, it's just, and again, I apologize for my ignorance. I'm just trying to say, I know I need to replace all those windows, and I know I can't replace all of those until I rip everything upstairs out, and I got to, and I got Bill as my tenant, the Coney Island guy. I got to give him a little notice here, because we got to shut him down for a second on when we're doing demo, and so I'm trying to be fair to Bill and Mike on, like, they're like, well, when do I got to shut down? I'm like, well, I don't know yet, because I don't know what my timeline is, and so I just...
Okay, I totally feel your pain, and I think it's difficult to navigate, and there's so many things that have to be tied together for the same thing, so I get that 100%. Do you see any easy way to wrap this up for us so that we can, because we fundamentally, I think, are on board with approving replacing windows for sure, and it just doesn't seem that there's clarity on what you're replacing them with, but it sounds like you're willing to replace them with what would be
I'll come back and show you, again, it's whether it was the Anderson 400s or whatever we had in that email exchange. I'll show you. I want them to look, I mean, I got to pay for all this stuff, so I want it to look, I mean, I'm not trying to put in like a cookie cutter thing here. I mean, I want it to look beautiful, and I want to own that building for a long time. So I just, do I have that exact thing? No. I mean, this is a 56-page drawing. I've got an architect who's paying a lot of money too, so I can probably figure it out pretty quick. But it's just one of those that I want to keep progressing to turn houses.
Sure, and I want to see a resolution for you tonight, so you're not held up another month. So that's
Could we make a motion, Louise, potentially that approve the rear windows, or had the rear windows been done? It sounded like there were a couple that were replaced. Or something like that,
or they have not started on any of the window work. The application is pretty clear. I do want to reiterate that obviously what you were referring to about the issuance of the demos. There's like a list of different approvals that need to be issued for a permit to be released once you are also on site plan, so once that's approved, and then the other things. You know, the way that I interpret all of this is that my approvals come when you guys give me the green light to go. I mean, there's a literal green light that I make in the computer system. At this point right now, barring the windows, I would be able to give you the green light. So if you remove the windows, you know, because if you want to come back later and say, hey, I still need to figure out the windows, you could come back next month and we could figure that out at a later time. And if you know, said, hey, I'm not going to do the windows right now, Luis, I would not charge you another fee because it would be a postponement. And then the interior work has nothing to do with us, so I wouldn't need to sign off on any of the interior work.
What do you mean when you say we're not going to do the windows right now?
So if you said at this point of our project phase, we'll get the information that's sought by the Historic District Commission, and we'll come back to you next month with the type of window, then I would not need to sign off on any window work because it's not happening. If that's clear.
Could you sign off on a staff level on the window type?
That's kind of what I was thinking, that we possibly could approve your rear windows as to match what was already approved in the past. And that would keep you moving, but also we could also then pass on to Luis the final decision in terms of an okay on what that particular model
Luis and I
for
are
the
talking
front
like
would be.
weekly on this thing, so I mean, if you guys trust Luis, which it sounds like you do, I'm just wondering if you can shift that responsibility into his court, right?
The windows weren't.
Okay, I'll be very clear. I would not approve vinyl windows.
Agreed.
Same.
But I thought somebody had said, I thought Luis had said that there was one or two, maybe it was you that said one or two windows was approved in the past.
There are windows that are on the
replacement.
in the drawings and in the packet, you know, there's windows that are on the elevator tower. Matt came back to this commission twice because you guys asked for more information, and Matt and your team, you were very thoughtful in the redesigns that you did with the elevator to the tower the first time to make some of the belt courses match the brickwork, the horizontal bands match the brickwork on the building.
Right.
To make the fenestration on the tower, the windows on the tower, more closely aligned with the existing windows on the building. As I said too, I'll go back through and comb the minutes again. I did it, you know, we've been on the project for a while, as you alluded to, but in the beginning I looked at it and I'll double check. I want to make sure that we're being held just as accountable as the next commission, I guess, body. So I'll certainly check back through again and look. No, go ahead.
I just want to ask, I guess, from the city side of things, if we were to postpone the window part of this application, would that have any adverse effect on the applicant that would slow down the rest of the process because we're trying to find a happy medium?
So, and I think that depends on the level of demolition that's going to be proposed for this building. If you said, hey, we're not going to do the windows, that's not included in the scope of demolition that we're planning right now. If the demo would be truly interior to the building, then it would not impede it. I would just ask you to remove that from the application. You could come back in March and we could get it buttoned up.
I guess, so I'm just thinking from a logistical standpoint, it's going to be really hard. It's hard to tell a demo contractor, rip that wall down, but don't touch that's why I'm saying that, like, if we can put, I mean, we have like 2, 3, 4 weeks of asbestos removal, which has to start first in lead. So that's going to take some time, but there's lead and asbestos in the window caulk right now. That's another thing. So that has to be abated. And so it's not just like keeping the window. I mean, there's some life safety things here too that have to get resolved. So that's why I'm wondering if we can, if you would be gracious enough to vote on a conditional, I get that you don't want to do it, but like to put the onus back on Luis, and he can talk to all of you, but I can't have a demo crew show up. It's just not practical.
Yeah, I see your point of view on that. Could we do a motion, would someone be able to do a motion that's approving the replacement of windows with a follow-up on, I guess, coaching with Louise on what kind of windows to do? Is that conditional, or?
So to me, that's still looking at conditionality. in the drawings too, it's saying that you're going to replace the existing openings. So that's one piece of information that obviously we'd be looking at. It sounds like there is material that is being heavily considered, or two, by the commission. That could certainly be specified in a motion as well. And I think that, the thing that comes to my mind right now, and I don't mean to hog the microphone, is that those are custom window sizes on this entire building. Those are not going to be standard window sizes, so the construction of the windows is going to take a long time to get them built.
I
get that. And I just want to let you know that too. So that is, when might not be something that the commission considers often, but, and I'm not trying to be insulting, but that's just something that I've seen in practice now quite a bit, is that when you're looking at these historic sizes, when people were building buildings back in the day, they weren't like, well, we have 4 different window sizes that we can choose from. They just said, well, we have this wide of a building and we want to put some windows in. We'll make them pretty much any size that works for us. The things that we are considering when we're looking at windows, and, these are relatively plain windows when we look at them, I will concede with that. They are single pane over single pane, or we would call them 1 over 1 windows when we're looking at them, right? The material hang-up is the one that we're having, but when we look at standard number 6, I don't know if this is intentional or not, it says that materiality is the last in the list of things that goes on. But I do understand that when you're looking at other things such as texture, size, design of the windows, there are other things that would come in with that could potentially make you object. Vinyl, for that reason, right? The texture might not match, even though wood, when it's painted, it will be smooth. The concern that I always consider with windows is, are we going to be able to get the frame size to be relatively similar to the frame size of wood? So that is the main concern, because we do not have any muntins on these windows at all, or dividers or grills in the windows. Frankly, any hardware that would exist on these windows, I don't think that any of us could go into the street and look at the hardware and identify it. It's also relatively small, and I would only ever consider that if it was extremely extravagant hardware on the windows. So the biggest question that we need to ask ourselves is, the applicant is telling us right now, and this is written out in the application, so we would expect it to be, we're holding it to that. We know that the windows are going to be the same size as the openings. There is no wiggle room on that. The materiality is something that could be specified in a motion, certainly. The only other thing that we would want to be looking at and considering is the size of the frames. Can they be comparable? I don't believe it's appropriate to reduce it down to an absolute and say, is it going to match 100%? But will it be comparable to the size of the existing windows in this structure? That alleviates us from having to consider any conditions in it. Dana, I think what you were asking earlier is, could we approve the removal of the windows? But then obviously you have an exposed building in Michigan in the middle of winter. I think we all know that that might not be the best for the longevity of the building too. And I'm just assuming that that's kind of what you were leading towards earlier.
Well, I guess my question was, I understand the complexity of arranging for the demolition, especially where there's lead and asbestos, potentially lead and potentially asbestos.
Oh, there.
All right, allegedly. But what I was envisioning was the demo and wood in place of the windows until you got the replacement. Is that not, or are you intending to have the replacements ready?
No, I mean, the windows would go in later. I mean, they would go in at some point, and I'm happy to provide a construction schedule on whether it's month 3 or 5 or 6. I mean, we've got a 12-month timeline, so.
Right, so you're going to demo, you're going to take the existing, your plan is to take the existing windows out, protect the interior in some
there
ways,
would be some type
and
of
then
or
at some point, a month later maybe,
Sure.
install new windows.
Then is asking you, do you have the windows for this building right now, and are you planning on putting them in immediately after the removal?
No.
Okay, so I think what Dana is really asking is, I'm guessing, is that we could be, the commission could make a motion that would allow you to remove the windows. We would postpone the installment of the new windows. Next month, you would come back to us and give us the exact specifics on those windows.
I'd be fine with that.
And then,
that would be fine.
and then we could move forward with the installation. So, and I know that the removal is something that's kind of the hinge point right here, right?
Because, I mean, we've got to set up scaffolding on the front. I mean, it's going to be
it's going to be a construction site for a second. I mean,
Ultimately, we don't want to slow down your process at all,
No, I
and we don't
appreciate
want to
that.
delay it
Yeah.
for a month. So we're trying to figure out a creative way. Also, just a comment, I own a historic building, and before I was on the historic commission, I replaced my windows with vinyl windows specifically, not knowing any better. It's the worst thing I ever did. They distorted with heat and within a year, and they don't close right, and as soon as I can afford to, I want to replace them with better material. So,
So, just again, and I just want to make sure that we're being extremely clear on all of this that we're doing right now. I would advise that there would be two motions made, then one for the removal and one for the installation of windows. If you have more questions, just let me know.
I move that we approve the removal of the existing windows as said in the application.
seconded. Can I get a roll call vote on that, please?
Just real quick, was that second James?
Yes.
Chrissy?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Okay, so the removal has been approved. There's going to
Okay.
be another motion now for the installation of new windows. Another motion.
Yes, do you want it phrased as an approval or a postponement?
I would personally, a postponement feels appropriate to me because unless you guys can
Fine.
specify.
That's right.
Have any window numbers in mind that
I'll make a motion to own the work on replacing the windows until we can meet again with more specification of what those would be next month, March 19th, and direct the applicant to provide that information to Luis by noon on March 12th.
second.
Okay. Could I get a roll call vote on that, please?
I'm sorry, what's that? Oh, okay. Thank you, I appreciate it. So, just
One
so
second, sorry, we have to make the vote. Sorry,
Oh,
I know that
okay,
there's
I'm
some,
sorry, I apologize.
no, there's some confusing stuff that happens, and I'm sorry.
No, didn't eat lunch.
Chrissy?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Okay, Matt, so what just happened was the elevator tower got approved, the
Okay.
removal of the windows got approved.
Yep.
You will come back next month with some very specific, and we can talk in the interim.
Sure.
But next month you will come back, there will be no additional fee because it will be just a prolongment of this application.
Okay.
And you will provide specifics on the windows that you propose to put into the building.
Okay.
So you can start taking out the existing ones once you get all the other necessary permissions. And we can talk tomorrow, and I'll talk internally with folks to see what I need to do for
Okay.
approving everything in the system as well.
Okay, yeah, so I want to, let's talk tomorrow, because I want to get on the same page with the dates. Yep. Like I heard the 12th and the 19th, so I just want to get that in the calendar. And then I just want to make sure that the site plan is, the site plan approval and demo permit is not going to be held up between now and March 19th or whatever.
I will figure it out, but I don't envision that
Okay.
there should be any issues. So we'll talk,
Okay.
like I said, tomorrow concretely, and I'll talk internally with my team to figure out what exactly we need to do.
Okay.
I think that this is a very
That was very productive. I
clever
appreciate it.
way of getting things, and we talked it through, and we figured out what we did want and what we didn't want, and we broke down that motion and used the criteria that we were seeking to get that through. So thank you, Matt, I really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate it.
Can I
Thanks
ask
so
one quick question? It has no bearing on any decisions.
Okay,
Here's my own personal curiosity. Are you looking long-term rentals, or are you looking like short-term, like what's your,
Oh, no, they'd be 12-month leases.
okay, the
Yeah.
long-term type?
Yeah, yeah.
Very cool.
So, and we did do we got a housing grant, so 4 of the 13 units will be, at
Prorated,
80 to
yeah.
120% of AMI. So we got that through the Kalamazoo County Housing, it was involved in the housing.
Great, great.
Yeah, that just give you a 30-second story. So we bought it in February, I bought it in February of 2020, and then March of 2020, so great timing. And so we had to kind of regroup, and then that's where we went from 11 to 13 units. And so,
We wish you luck on staying on schedule.
I hope
Thank you, Matt. All right, guys. I guess I'll just take this time to say a couple things. When we're making motions, I really want us to make sure that we are, bringing in our packets or looking at stuff, because I write out the motions very deliberately when they're in the packet. There's language in there that I want to be used definitively. I know that oftentimes we break up the motions, so there's language, though, that's bolded in those packets that really should be said. It is vitally important for that language to be included for denials, which we don't have many, but I really want us to be thinking about that moving forward. Next, I'm here to support you guys in any capacity, but the decision ultimately lies with you all and what you do or don't want to do. That being said, it is not a want. It is a mandate that we have from the state that we need to evaluate every case that's brought before us against the Secretary of the Interior standards and our local historic district standards and guidelines. So really, Dana, you were quoting at length when you were making, not in a bad way, but you were quoting the actual text from the Secretary of the Interior standards and guidelines when you were making your motion. Those are important things for the records, obviously, and I know that it's read and stuff, and sometimes the numbers just start to seem like, oh, they're just numbers, but I really do want, when we're here, this is in the meeting, and it's really important to say, this is why we're making these decisions. We are using these criteria so the folks at home and the folks that are here, the applicants, can say, oh, that's why the decision was made. I don't think you guys are doing a bad idea with that, but I want us, every day that I'm on this job too, I'm starting to find more and more out about it, and I'm understanding the reality of the situations as well. So
on that note, I appreciate that clarity because we're all amateurs on this. None of us are trained in this or professionals. So anytime you see us straying, please just give us guidance on that.
Totally. I always strive to be as gentle as I can when I notice a stray, but I don't want, the second something's said that we don't necessarily have purview over, it could start to influence the decision, and we then have to work back and make sure that we get back into historic preservation realm and maybe not zoning realm or planning realm. So I just want to make sure that we're firmly rooted in that. We will have a training this year again, and I'm thinking that we might have a joint training between the Historic Preservation Commission and the Historic District Commission, because I want you all to understand the work that they do. I want you to, I'm sliding into my coordinator's report now, so that's a smooth transition, but I want everyone to understand what each other does. The decisions that you guys make influence them, perhaps less tangibly than the decisions that they make influence you. They're the ones that make historic districts. They're the ones that make National Register areas. They're the ones that control the sizable pot of money as well. So I think that understanding the connection between the two is vital. And I think that it'd be a great time just to get kind of Historic Preservation 101 for everybody, because like you said, Dan, and I don't mean this in any derogatory way, but you guys are all volunteers, you're all amateurs at this, so I think it's a great learning experience for you all, and I want to make sure that that's realized to the fullest. So thank you all, obviously, for your service as well with this commission. Sliding in next to the next thing, I will probably say this every month until May, but the Michigan Historic Preservation Network Conference is in May, from May 8th to May 11th. It is here in the city of Kalamazoo for the first time in I don't know how many years. Speaking of the Historic Preservation Commission, their budget, there was money allotted that allowed for all of you to be able to attend the conference as well. Not like every little thing, but I made sure to budget out for 14 people to be able to attend the conference on kind of the, I hate this term because it doesn't really apply to this, I don't think, but to the a la carte way of going to it. So it's not every tour, it's not some of the extras that are added on, but you guys will be able to attend at least a baseline, and then if you want to buy some more things and figure out what else you want to do or volunteer, there's opportunities for scholarships to go to some of the other parts of the conference. It's a great opportunity to be able to talk from folks from other cities, understand what preservation is like in other parts of Michigan, understand maybe some of the shared struggles that we have, maybe understand we have some stuff that they don't, and they have some stuff that we don't. I really encourage you guys to go, barring other things, and I can't force you to go, but it's every time I've gone, it's been eye-opening to be able to talk to folks, so I want you guys to think about that as we get closer to May.
Have you sent us sign-up information for that?
Registration hasn't opened up yet. I will frankly probably just register everyone because we can do it through a commission level to sign everyone up, so I'll probably just do that. And I'll send it all out. I'll get you guys taken care of, and we're the host city, so I think they'll give us some grace if I fall behind a little bit. But we'll see. Maybe they won't. The reviews, it's been kind of slow. We've had ups and downs on weather, so it's not been anything too crazy, right? One administrative without a permit one with a permit, and then obviously we had 4 hearings last month. I know that today I approved some roofs, so the number's going up a little bit as well, but it's nothing drastic. 714 did some rear porch repairs, and there's a gable over the front porch that fell down, so they built it back to look the same, and it's going to go back up. Gutters and then a roof, so they're all very simple things that I see. Those are the most often things that I see. So that's all that I have for my report. Thank you.
I want to revisit one thing while we're on the meeting and we're under, as we're not supposed to talk out behind closed doors. So in reference to the guy that was on Dutton Street there who we passed the metal door for the basement, but as Christy said, she lives there and she's seen these 2 metal doors go in, so what kind of teeth do we have to say, hey, you know, you've done this thing and you're not supposed to do this thing, like, how do you address that? Or is that something that then you do on your rounds and notice it's happened? And, like, how does that process work without sitting there and calling the guy out and saying, dude, you know, you shouldn't do this?
Yeah, these are all great questions. Obviously, I inherited this gig, and I think that the street view, I don't know what year the street view is on from street view, but I also noticed that looking at it. Violations that are committed under a previous owner, when the new owner buys it, you cannot condemn them for that. That's just some background that I wanted to give. This property owner has owned the property, so I just want to speak to that. And I really want us to be careful that we are not verging into vindictiveness right now with anything that we're speaking about.
Yeah, I think a lot where people, oh, well, we did this thing, but we want approval now, or, well, that I didn't do that. That happened before I was.
So those are two really different things that also we need to make sure that we're unpacking the difference right
I
here.
understand they're different, but this is much the same attitude. It's very much like, hey, I'm just going to do this and see what happens. I mean, it's kind of roll the dice, and what is our parameters, or what is our acceptable move after that, or counter, or just shrug and say, oh, well, I'm sitting here, you know, every month for what, you know.
I think this one's tricky in particular, too, because while this property owner has had this building for 5 or 6 years and the doors were replaced, he is an out-of-state owner, so he does rely on an in-town property management company, and I have a feeling the property management company went ahead and did it. So
Yeah,
I'm torn because I'm like,
it's just not
I
the
want
owner,
him to
maybe,
be
but-
responsible, but it probably wasn't involved in it, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm not trying to pick on
No,
individuals.
totally. I agree. I struggle with it too, and I don't know. I mean, Louise could probably have a whole second job just chasing down every violation.
Yeah, and I think we need to really,
I don't know.
the practicality of this is what we need to think about, and I want to make sure that we know a retroactive review is something completely different than a violation. We need to look at these things impartially, so if a retroactive review comes to us, and a couple of them have, you have to act as though that work has not been done. I know that's been kind of a tricky thing for us to wrap our heads around. It's tricky for me too sometimes to do that. Violations, though, as I said, do not carry over, and I think that it is, as Christy said, I am one person for 2,000 properties. I don't get out of the office as much as I would like at all, and I rely very heavily on folks saying, hey, looks like something happened over here. Here's documentary evidence, and that's truly what I need is documentary evidence to show this is the change that's been made, because I never want to get into a hearsay situation with anyone. Quite often the documentary evidence is readily available for these things when we look at them. I'm not asking everyone to go out and become force of folks that are combing the streets looking for things, but I just want to make sure we are an extension of the governmental body. We need to make sure that we're making defensible decisions. There are fees associated with violations in historic districts as well that can get rather high. I also really pride this commission on the way that we work with folks and we work to get them. My first step, I never want it to be boom violation. I want it to be, hey, we noticed you did some work. Let's get you into the commission and let's see if we can find a solution for it. Violations, I think, psychologically have a little bit of heavier weight than bringing them here to be able to talk to us about things. And we do that on a pretty regular basis.
And to that note, in the community and talking with folks, and I see a bias against the historic committee, both arms of it, as being out of touch and expensive and, too busy on people's lives. And they're leading with being helpful to help people maintain the value of their property and the integrity of their property. I think I love that that's how you lead the conversation, because I think that's important. I don't want this body to be like vindictive or something, or we're out there looking for people to flex some sort of weird power or something. But
I'm not walking through the city with a clipboard. I don't have time for that, no.
Obviously, though, there's a flip side to the coin as well. We are charged with doing something, so it needs to be made sure that it's done. And I will admit it's a tightrope to walk. I do it with the help of all you, obviously, as well. The biggest part to me, and I don't mean to be on a soapbox here, but the biggest part to me is education. And I think oftentimes we consider that education to be knowing about fixing your house or knowing about preservation, when we should have been revising that theory a long time ago to education about how to apply for things, education about what can and can't be done, education about some of the other things, because in reality, that's what the average homeowner is going to encounter a lot faster than I want to take on a massive construction project. I think the normal interaction that we have with this stuff, we need to cater it to the normal person that lives in the historic district. I think that's really, really so vital. So people, I never want someone to say like, oh man, I didn't know, and now I just, A, spent all this money, B, I don't know what's going to happen in the future, and C, I might be a little bit sour about it too. I want to make sure that we're keeping a good relation with the folks that live in these districts, because truly the houses are there and stuff, but the people are the ones that are important. The houses are truly an extension, tangible expansion of the history of the areas that we're looking to preserve. So that's kind of my philosophy around it.
on that note, I'm going to conclude this meeting. It is, 6:44? 40, yeah. Am I close? 6:44? Yeah, 42. Could I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.